Welcome back, friends. So what do I do in the summertime when there is so much zucchini coming in from the garden and I don't know what to do with it all? Well, one of the things I like to do, other than freezing it, is make 3 different kinds of sourdough zucchini bread, and I'm going to be sharing with you those recipes on today's video. So let's jump right into it. And as usual, you can find all 3 of these sourdough zucchini bread recipes on the blog wagonwheelhomestead.com. So you can head on over there and print them off if that's something that you would like to have in your recipe folder. What I'm going to do today to show you these is I'm going to make all 3 of these at once, and I quite often do that because we have a large family and we like having different varieties of zucchini bread available all at the same time. And so what I'm going to do is in this big bowl, I'm going to mix up both the chocolate zucchini bread and the regular zucchini bread because the recipes are exactly the same until I get right to the end and add the chocolate in just one portion of it. So it just makes it easier if I'm just mixing it all up in one big bowl. And then in the other smaller bowl, I'm going to be mixing up the lemon poppy seed zucchini bread because that obviously is going to be a fair bit different than the chocolate and the regular zucchini bread. So I've been making zucchini bread for a long time, and it's something our family enjoys a lot, and it's a great way, of course, to use up a lot of zucchini. And what's really great about this recipe is not only is it made with sourdough, and if you let the batter set out for a few hours before baking, it will be a long fermented sourdough bread, which makes it a lot easier for your gut to digest it, especially if you are gluten intolerant or diabetic. But you also have the option of baking it right away, which is what I'm going to do today, because of course we're depending on baking soda and baking powder as the leaveners for this bread. And so the other great thing is instead of using oil in this quick recipe, it's traditionally known as a quick bread, we are using applesauce. So anytime you have a baking recipe that calls for a lot of oil and you don't want to use the oil, you can use just applesauce and it works as a great alternative. I'm also using some discard, some sourdough discard, and some active starter because I didn't have quite enough sourdough discard in the fridge, so I'm using some of both. And as you can see, I'm adding the lemon juice and the poppy seeds to the lemon poppy seed version of the bread, and then we have the ingredients, the dry and the wet ingredients mixed up for the regular sourdough zucchini bread and the chocolate version. And in just a couple of minutes, we're going to add in the chocolate. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to shred up a bunch of zucchini. And you can actually shred the zucchini and put it into, I like to put it into quart-sized bags, freezer bags, and leave it in the freezer. And then you can make this bread all year long, even if it's not zucchini season. And to do that, you would just take your zucchini, your shredded zucchini out of the freezer and let it thaw out. And it will have quite a bit of water in it. So it is wise for you to let the water drain off of it before adding it to your recipe, but it works just the same. You can make zucchini bread, zucchini pancakes, so many zucchini recipes if you just have this frozen shredded zucchini in your freezer. And I like to use my food processor to shred it because it just makes a really fast job of a whole lot of zucchini. So I'm just going to be adding the zucchini into the batter and getting it mixed up. And then we're going to put this into our bread pans. I do have my oven preheated at 350 degrees. And the recipe says that it needs to bake for an hour. And every oven is different, but I always have to bake mine for at least an hour. More like an hour and 15 or hour and 25 minutes. So, just check your bread when it's time to bake it by sticking a toothpick or a knife in the center of your bread, at the end of the bake time. And if it comes out clean, then you'll know that it's done baking. Otherwise, you'll know that it needs to bake some more. I'm also wanting to highlight for you my brand new cast iron enamel loaf pan that I got from Nutrimil. This is the parent company of the Bosch mixer, which, by the way, you could use your Bosch mixer to mix this up, and I've done that many times. But because I'm making all three of these today, I'm just mixing them up in a bowl because of how I'm going to end up doing the chocolate zucchini bread at the end. And the other thing that you really want to make sure you do with these zucchini bread recipes is that you butter and flour, or grease and flour, your loaf pans to keep the bread from sticking. If you skip this part, you will be sorry. Ask me how I know. I've been making this for years, and I've learned the hard way. Definitely to grease and flour your pans. So I just am rubbing some butter or some tallow in my loaf pans, and then added a little bit of flour, and I am spreading it around, making sure that it is covered all the way around so that the bread does not stick while baking. And it's not a hard thing to do, but definitely you don't want to skip that step. Then we're going to get everything put into the loaf pans. And by the way, you can use this same recipe to make muffins as well. So if you'd rather make zucchini muffins instead of zucchini bread, you certainly can do that. You would just bake it for a shorter amount of time, of course, because it would be smaller increments of bread. And this is the lemon poppy seed I'm working on right now, and it is so good. If you've not had lemon poppy seed zucchini bread, you're definitely missing out. Finishing mixing in all of the flour into the chocolate zucchini bread and regular zucchini bread. And here's where I'm going to make it a little different so that we can have the chocolate. I'm going to put about half of this into a loaf pan, and then I'm going to stir in some chocolate chips and some cocoa powder. The chocolate chips are optional, but they do make it extra gooey and yummy. And so I'm going to stir that in to the batter, and now we have chocolate zucchini bread. And there's certainly nothing wrong with chocolate zucchini bread for breakfast or for a nice snack. You can eat it with butter or cream cheese. It's so nice to have around, especially during the busy summer months. And you can freeze this bread as well after it's done baking. Once it's all the way cooled off, you can freeze it and have it, just to eat as a snack even throughout the winter. And so I'm adding this to this loaf pan. This pan is just a little bit smaller than my regular pans. My regular pans are 9 by 5. And so what I'm going to do is just put a little bit of this into a muffin cup, and so in a muffin pan, and we'll have some chocolate zucchini muffins, and the kids are never sorry about that. By the way, you really don't know there's any zucchini in this. It just gives it a really nice, moist consistency. And that would be the same for things like, applesauce muffins or applesauce bread, things that you put sour cream in, and of course the sourdough as well will all give it kind of a moister texture. And so that's really the blessing of zucchini bread, is it gives you a moist, excellent bread. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you try these and let me know how you like them. And I will see you in the next video.